ৰাস্তাটো নিৰ্মাণ কৰা হ'ল অহা যোৱা পঢ়া শুনা কৰাটো অতি সুবিধাজনক এই সকলোবোৰ ঠাই আমাক নিৰ্মাণ কৰি দিয়াৰ বাবে আমি প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী ডাঙৰীয়াক বহুত কৃতজ্ঞতা জ্ঞাপন কৰিছোঁ
আহক অসমৰ পিছত কৰ্ণাটকলৈ গৈ তাত কি বিকাশ হৈছে সেই বিষয়ে জানো
প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী জনবিকাশ কাৰ্যক্ৰমৰ অধীনত বহু বিদ্যালয়ে কাম কৰি আছে যিটো আমাৰ দৰে ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীৰ বাবে অতি লাভদায়ক আমাৰ শিক্ষকে প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী জনবিকাশ কাৰ্যক্ৰমৰ কথা ক'লে
বিহাৰৰ কিষাণগঞ্জ জিলাৰ স্বাস্থ্য চিকিৎসা ভৱনত লাভ কৰা সুবিধাৰ বাবে সংখ্যালঘু লোকসকলৰ সুস্বাস্থ্য পথত আগবাঢ়িছে
আগতে ইয়াত একো নাছিল বৰ সৰু ডিস্পেন্সাৰী এখন আছিল এতিয়া মাশাআল্লাহ বহুত ডাঙৰ ডিস্পেন্সাৰী হৈছে ইয়াত সকলো ঔষধ পোৱা যায় ঔষধৰ বাবে কোনো টেনচন নাই আমি বাহিৰলৈ গৈ কিনিব নালাগে বৰঞ্চ ইয়াতেই পাওঁ আগতে ইয়াত ইমান ডাঙৰ ঔষধৰ দোকান নাছিল এখন এতিয়া মাত্ৰ নিৰ্মাণ হৈছে আৰু ইয়াত প্ৰতিটো সুবিধা উপলব্ধ
উত্তৰ প্ৰদেশৰ মুৰাদাবাদত সংখ্যালঘু লোকসকলৰ বাবে নিৰ্মিত বিদ্যালয় আৰু মহাবিদ্যালয়সমূহে নিজেই বিকাশৰ কাহিনী ক'ব
আমাৰ দৰে ল'ৰা-ছোৱালীৰ বাবে স্কুল বহুত উপকাৰী অষ্টম শ্ৰেণীলৈকে শিক্ষা বিনামূলীয়া হয়
আমাৰ ইণ্টাৰ কলেজত সায়েন্স লেব আৰু কম্পিউটাৰ লেব আৰু লগতে এটা লাইব্ৰেৰীও আছে মই প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰীক ধন্যবাদ জনাইছো
প্ৰধানমন্ত্ৰী জনবিকাশ কাৰ্যসূচীৰ
This unlocking, oil companies are now able to engage in exploration and development activities across nearly 99% of these areas. This presents a significant opportunity for striking hydrocarbon discovery in the deep and ultra-deep offshore regions which have remained largely underexploited until now. The well Vijayapuram 1 is being drilled by the Blackford Dolphin rig, which is a semi-submersible drilling rig. This rig was mobilized from Nigerian water and sailed 7,720 nautical miles between Nigeria and Andaman Islands. It was built in 1974 and was refurbished in 2009. The rig can accommodate up to 120 people. The rig is best equipped for drilling in harsh environments across the globe. The fleet can drill in maximum water depth of 6,000 feet. In this drilling campaign, Oil India Limited is going to drill a total of 4 exploration wells in Andaman and Nicobar region.
Government of India took some path-breaking reforms in identifying the possibility of unlocking those areas where exploration hasn't happened. So as part of that, about 1 million square kilometer has been unlocked in terms of identifying them as go zone, which was earlier no-go zone. That has opened up a plethora of opportunities. So as part of it, in fact, concurrently, in fact, prior to that, through another path-breaking reform, Government of India brought in something called a hydrocarbon exploration licensing policy in 2016, wherein we said that the operators or the explorers will choose the area through something called a campaign called Open Acreage Licensing Policy. And under OLP, now through this no-go zone opening up, we have access to 1 million square kilometer of area. And during the recently concluded OLP 9 campaign, about 26 lakh square kilometer area has been opened up, and that is something has created a buzz around.
All India is highly optimistic on this exploration drilling campaign in Andaman region in terms of hydrocarbon discovery. Further, the drilling campaign will provide critical subsurface information of Andaman-Nicobar Basin, which in turn support further exploration and attract major players to invest in the recently opened no-go areas. Team Sansad TV covered a distance of 1,879 kilometers from Andaman and Nicobar Islands to Digboy in Assam. is where the saga of oil in India started. Oil was first struck here in September 1889. Let me take you back in time. In the mid-19th century, in 1859, Edwin Ray, an American, drilled the first successful oil in Pennsylvania in US. This pioneering moment marked the birth of the modern oil industry. But the tale of oil discovery doesn't stop there. Meanwhile, in the lush jungles of Assam, a curious story unfolded. British colonial surveyors, as part of Assam Railways and Trading Company, mapped out rail routes between Dibrugarh and Margarita. The British heard a fascinating tale of elephants coating their feet with a peculiar black substance from the locals. Curious, they ventured deeper, following the elephants to a natural oil sea. This discovery prompted methodical exploration, leading to India's first systematic drilling. These events laid the foundation for further successes, ultimately culminating into the drilling of first commercial well in Assam in 1889 with a depth of 662 feet. In honor of this incredible find, the town was named Digboy, affectionately derived from Dig Boy, dig, reflecting the labor and efforts that went into tapping this newfound resource. Subsequently, this discovery marked the dawn of commercial oil production in India and etched Digboy's name in history as the birthplace of nation's oil industry.
The history takes us back to 1889 when the first oil well discovery happened in a place called Digboy, and I'm very glad to share this brief story about it. The discovery of oil in this part of the globe happened through chance. The Assam Railway Trading Corporation was laying a railway line to carry tea and timber from the northeastern corner of the country then to the Dibrugarh inland water transport port. And one day while the sleepers were being laid, the lumbers were being laid, the elephants, some British engineers saw some glue, black color fluid sticking to the toenails of the elephants. And then they said, let's dig this place. So dig, boy, dig. That's how the Digboy name came. And they say rest is history. 1889, we drilled a well of about, say, 150 feet. And we got hydrocarbon.
Back in 1800s, oil was evaporated and heated in these giant vessels that you can see behind me. From this to emerging as a hub of refining in the entire world, India has come a long way with a refining capacity of 248.9 million metric tons per annum. Integral to this evolution was the adoption of seismic exploration in the oil and gas industry, which involves a meticulous, multi-phase process designed to accurately map subsurface geology and identify potential hydrocarbon traps. Seismic exploration unfolds in three distinct phases: seismic data acquisition, seismic data processing, and seismic interpretation. The initial phase begins with seismic data acquisition. Involves recording subsurface data at designated locations on land or sea using receivers called geophones. This foundational step is crucial as it gathers essential information needed to understand the geological layers beneath the Earth's surface. The subsequent step, seismic data processing, is critical for transforming this data into usable format. All India employs state-of-the-art software and hardware to cleanse the data sets, removing noise and refining the information to a level where it is ready for interpretation. This processing ensures that the data is both precise and efficient, forming a solid foundation for the next phase, which is seismic interpretation. This follows blending of science and art to interpret the geological heterogeneity, and subsurface structures from the processed seismic data. This phase is crucial as it helps geoscientists identify subsurface traps where oil and gas might accumulate, effectively pinpointing potential drilling locations for exploration of oil and gas. The journey from manual to technologically advanced exploration techniques illustrates not only the growth trajectory but also the unwavering commitment to energy security that characterizes India's oil and gas industry. Seismic interpretation has progressed from bulky tapes to nano-sized disks, vastly increasing data storage. The process moved from manual paper analysis to advanced computers handling terabytes of data. With the integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms in recent days, seismic interpretations definitely will be revolutionized, allowing for the efficient analysis of vast data sets. By continually adopting cutting-edge methods in seismic exploration, Oil India is ensuring a secure and sustainable energy future for the nation. Let me end this feature where India's tryst with oil started. With camera persons Junaid Iqbal Khan and Nilesh Pandey, I'm Kriti Mishra, signing off from Digboy.
Once a temple of democracy now is a ground, अखाड़ा बन गया है, कुश्ती दंगल बन गया है। क्या कुछ देखने को नहीं मिल रहा है, क्या कुछ सुनने को नहीं मिल रहा है। मर्यादा शब्द ही लोग भूल गए हैं, गरिमा नाम की कोई चीज नहीं रही है। You must have some tough questions of research. I'll give you 3 rest you consider. 1. Why should there be whip? Whip means you are curtailing expression. You are curtailing freedom. You are subjecting a representative to servility. You don't allow such a person to use his or her mind. Examine whether US has whip or not. Find out in last 10 years how decisions of Senate have been influenced by persuasion. But when you issue a whip, there is no persuasion. To persuade whom? Chaos, disruption, disturbance, and the kind is remote controlled in the house. They step in the temple with firm determination to carry out a command that this day is a day of dysfunctioning the parliament or legislature. Examine it. Political parties are supposed to promote democracy. But do the elected representatives have the freedom of expression? Whip comes in the way. Number 2, think for a while. A representative can vote for the president, for the vice president, keeping his vote secret. But such a person, member of the assembly, cannot keep his vote secret while voting for election of a Rajya Sabha member. Why? nominated members, 12 in number, can vote for the election of vice president, but not for the president. And the justification is on quicksand. The GS president appoints them. But the situation went under big change. The president under constitution is now ordained to exactly do what the council of ministers does. So where's the difference? Examine what is happening in other countries also. This is very, very important. We have a fundamental right in the country, and the right is we can access judiciary. It's a fundamental right. But in last few decades, access to judiciary has been weaponized. It has been weaponized to a level, it is posing a great challenge to our governance, our democratic values. Day in and day out, you'll find advisories emanating, executive functions being performed by bodies that have no jurisdictional or jurisprudential authority or competence to perform those actions. To put it in layman's language, a Tahsildar can never record an FIR, howsoever strongly he may feel. Because our constitution ordains institutions have to work within their own domain. Are they working? I'll answer for you, no. Institutions are yielding ground to other institutions, and that is being done out of expediency. These placatory mechanisms may result in short-term gain, but they cause incalculable spinal damage in the long run. And therefore I urge you, you have to think. Once you think, connect with the people. Make them aware. No nation is as rich in human resource as Bharat. But we have to audit ourselves. We can't rest on laurels that are superficial. दुनिया की 1/6 आबादी भारत में है। हमारी सांस्कृतिक विरासत 5000 साल की है। We take pride, we are mother of democracy. We are oldest democracy. But are we justifying that claim? If I look around contemporary scenario, I am a worried man. The political climate in the country is alarmingly worrisome. Political parties have no meaningful dialogue amongst themselves. They do not deliberate on issues of nationalism, security, or development. You will find confrontational stance solidifying. Disturbance has been weaponized as a political strategy. And look at the kind of language used from all quarters, right, left, and center. That not only belittles Indian mind, but tarnishes the fair name of our civilization.
Any country, and I don't mean just India, will be assessed in terms of its economic performance by its energy utilization. I used to say till some months ago that energy is the backbone of the economy or the lifeline of an economy. No matter which way you look at it. Today, if energy consumption is slowing or declining, it's a sure sign that economic performance is, beginning to put up some red flags. India, in the 3.5 years of my being associated with this ministry, our oil consumption, crude oil consumption, has gone up from 5 million barrels a day to 5.5 million barrels. My speaking notes would say this will go up to 6.5, 7 million barrels a day. Not in the long future, in the short to medium term. So crude oil consumption will go up 20%, maybe more, 25, 30%. And along with that, you add all the other developments. You mentioned biofuel blending. Biofuel blending, our target for 20% blending was 2026. And the Prime Minister has put in place an ecosystem. We have, you said, almost reached it. We have reached it. Today, any country that can achieve a biofuel blending target 6 years in advance means something is going right there. One area which I find is not getting enough attention is green hydrogen. You need two things for green hydrogen. One, you need a demonstrated capacity to bring down the price of clean solar energy, which we've done. We brought it down from 25 cents a unit to 3 cents a unit. And you need electrolyzer. Since the Honorable Prime Minister announced the electrolyzer PLI being productivity linked incentive scheme, and made a provision for 19,700 crores, just about every electrolyzer manufacturer in the world today is in India, either jointly with an Indian collaborator or solely, and a lot of young startups. I have youngsters coming to me and say, sir, I made a membraneless electrolyzer. I went to BPCL, is not here today, the CMD. He took me in one of the India Energy Weeks thing, where along with BARC, our atomic energy establishment, they utilize the technology which we normally use in our submarine. I'm a former joint secretary in the Defense Ministry because, you need to keep the crew inside a submerged platform, a submarine, with oxygen. So they split it and keep the oxygen and get rid of the rest. Fantastic innovation. Of course, it's a pilot project this now.
How the sparrow, a small and pretty bird, plays an important role in maintaining the ecological balance.
When you look at sparrows, they are house sparrows, and when you look at its scientific name, it also suggests that it is Passer domesticus. It's very clearly indicate that it has great relation with human beings, and even scientific evidence suggests that fossils, when you look at the fossils evidences, in fact, that suggests that human-dependent, lineage of house sparrow. And that is very clear, that how it has evolved along with human beings. However, changes brought about by humans in and around their settlement led to loss of natural habitat of house sparrow, in fact, which has in turn resulted in a rapid decline of sparrows in our surrounding.
There are 26 species of sparrow worldwide, while 5 of them are found in India.
For years, it has peacefully coexisted with human beings in our buildings and gardens. But in the last couple of decades, the population of house sparrow is on the decline in almost every city. The house sparrow is widespread across the world, inhabiting every continent except Antarctica, China, and Japan.
Sparrows feed on pests and insects that damage crops and cause diseases. Also helps in reducing the vector-borne diseases. Contrary to it, sparrows' population is declining. The Royal Society for Protection of Birds added the house sparrow to its red list, which pose global conservation concern. Reason over population in urban areas. Unfriendly architectural designing of present-day houses. These birds deserve sincere conservation efforts.
There is a need to recover house sparrow populations from the urban centers. And one of the prime tasks that one could do is to put appropriate sized nest boxes in their gardens, in areas where those boxes can be protected from predators.
Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is on a 2-day official visit to India, accompanied by a delegation of European Union College of Commissioners. Now this is the first ever visit of the EU College of Commissioners together to India, and among the first such visits since the start of the mandate of the current European Commission in December 2024, after the European parliamentary elections held in June 2024. For European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, this visit marks her third one to India. She's earlier visited India for a bilateral official visit in April 2022 and then to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. Prime Minister Narendra Modi warmly welcomed her and the EU College of Commissioners at the Hyderabad House on Friday. The extensive discussions that followed between the leaders aimed at further strengthening the India-EU strategic partnership. So we'll analyze the big takeaways, the progress on the India-EU free trade agreement, and how both sides are paving the way for further strengthening relations based on growing convergences. For this, I'm pleased to welcome on the broadcast two distinguished guests, Dr. Sheetal Sharma, Center for European Studies, School of International Studies. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time. Welcome to the program. Also joining us is former Ambassador Virendra Gupta. Ambassador, delighted to have you with us on this broadcast as well. But before we begin talking about the significance of the visit of the European Commission President to India, here's a quick listen in to what the Prime Minister said after the extensive discussion he had with her.
Trade, technology, investment, innovation, green growth, सिक्योरिटी, स्किलिंग और मोबिलिटी पर सहयोग का एक ब्लूप्रिंट तैयार किया गया है। हमने अपनी टीम्स को एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी बायलैटरल फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को, एफटीए को इस वर्ष के अंत तक संपन्न करने का निर्देश दिया है। फ्रेंड्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्रेमवर्क मजबूत करने के लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रोटेक्शन और जीआई एग्रीमेंट पर भी आगे बढ़ने की बात हुई है। टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन के क्षेत्र में एक ट्रस्टेड और सिक्योर वैल्यू चेन हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। सेमीकंडक्टर, एआई, हाई परफॉर्मेंस कंप्यूटिंग और 6G में सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमति बनी है। हमने एक स्पेस डायलॉग शुरू करने का निर्णय भी लिया है। फ्रेंड्स, इकोलॉजी और इकोनॉमी का बैलेंस हमारी साझी प्रतिबद्धता रही है और इस दिशा में हमारा मजबूत सहयोग रहा है। हमने ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन फोरम और ऑफशोर विंड एनर्जी बिजनेस समिट करने का निर्णय लिया है। ईवी बैटरीज, मरीन प्लास्टिक्स और ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन में जॉइंट रिसर्च किया जाएगा। साथ ही सस्टेनेबल अर्बन डेवलपमेंट पर हम अपने जॉइंट प्लान को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। कनेक्टिविटी के क्षेत्र में इंडिया, मिडिल ईस्ट, यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर यानी आईमेक, उसे आगे ले जाने के लिए ठोस कदम उठाए जाएंगे।
So we'll be talking about the host of agreements and measures which the Prime Minister spoke about in this joint presser on how to strengthen the India-EU strategic partnership. But Ambassador, let me begin the program with your thoughts on the significance attached to this visit, considering it's her third one to India, and she's being accompanied by a college of EU commissioners, which is also the first ever. They're all visiting India together.
I think it's a very important visit, and all the right boxes have been ticked. Firstly, it is a full delegation visit. Majority of the EU commissioners are on the delegation. And given the fact that there is a considerable importance that India attaches to this relationship. This is a very big relationship for us. If you look at it from the point of view of trade and investment, I think the figures speak for themselves. Huge amount of trade, almost $140 billion trade. And unlike China, this trade, we have a slight surplus in India's favor. European Union also, as you know, plays an extremely important role in geopolitics. And I think I regard the President of EU Commission's statement that she would like to enhance security and defense relationship to build a truly strategic relationship with India very significant, particularly given the fact that India has very special relationship with Russia, and India's views on Russia-Ukraine conflicts are not entirely in agreement with what European Union perceives. So I think given these two very important factors, if European Union President is soliciting a strategic relationship, a security construct with India, I think that is extremely significant.
Sure, we'll talk further about how we can explore and enhance this strategic and defense partnership that the President of the European Commission spoke about. But coming to trade first, and Dr. Sharma, your thoughts on the trade agreement that has been under negotiation for a decade and a half. The fact that EU is India's largest trading partner, our bilateral trade over the last decade has increased by 90% or so as the numbers speak. But when it comes to the FTA, we've still not been able to get a breakthrough. This is something that the European Commission President did speak about. She said she's hopeful that India and the EU will wrap up this deal by the end of the year. How hopeful are you?
Tina, first of all, a couple of indicators that mark that this deal is going to be almost finalized by year end, because number one, look at the amount of energy that has been infused in this relationship. When you read all the interviews of the president prior to her visit to India, along with the delegation of 22 commissioners, with her representing all the important areas out of 27 of the European Union, it indicates something. The strength, the numbers indicate something. And this is a kind of, she had been saying that for a long period of time, there was this lackluster relationship, the warmth, the energy was not there despite the motivation being there. But suddenly the things have changed. The things have changed because of a couple of geopolitical reasons, and one primarily being Trump 2 administration sending massive shockwaves all across the world. But despite the divergences of all the ideas related to Ukraine war, Russia, US, or anything else, now EU actually is looking for a partnership with India. And over last 20 years, since 2004, when we had a strategic partnership, now 20 years over the next year, that to the roadmap 2025 is coming to an end. There is a kind of motivation and intention towards enhancing this relationship to the next level. Now, there are geopolitical reasons for it, but the prime reason is that if you, from India's perspective, I would say, if you negotiate deal with the European Union, you are primarily targeting 27 countries altogether. And this operates at two levels. One is at the member state level, and the other one is the consolidated union level. So there is a kind of enhanced and strengthening of partnership with the continent in totality. because one, we have all bilateral good relations with all the member states, the major ones, like Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and that too, European Union's the one which exited European Union, UK as well. So all the big member states, along with the countries of the Central and Eastern European countries, the bilaterals are good. But at the same time, if in case we are striking the FTA with EU's economy is $19.5 trillion economy. So that's massive among the top 3 economies of the world. So this has a lot of potential. Now they have intention. Now it is a kind of situation in which there is no need to waste time, as the president herself said that, for a long we have not focused upon this, but it's the ripe time. There's no time to waste now in moving towards convergence of idea and seeing most of the, smaller hurdles through. So I think it's going to be done. Although, of course, there are certain issues on which a more greater dialogue and in-depth discussion is required, but it would be certainly culminated.
Okay. Ambassador, especially, against the backdrop of the statement made by U.S. President Donald Trump to impose tariffs, 25% tariffs on goods made in the EU, do you think the EU is now making fresh efforts to expedite the FTA with India? And how is it going to be mutually beneficial for both sides? And especially because this is something which has been in the talks for a decade and a half. It was stalled midway. Then the negotiations started again in 2022. So give us a backdrop of how these talks have, fared all this while. And now the fresh impetus that we see in the efforts to seal the deal.
Well, Trump's rantings and the threat of imposing tariffs across the spectrum. European Union, he's threatened India also. So I think this has given a new impetus to various group of countries to begin looking for diversification. It is very clear that European Union will also have to look at reducing its dependence on America. So I think that makes the imperative for finding new partners. And I think India, given the liberal political atmosphere, India's emergence, I drew attention that India may not be entirely synchronous with them on political views, and yet India is being sought after. So I think that is indicative of new trends. Emergence of India on the global scene. So I'm sure that with Trump going around with his threats, this will give fresh impetus to European Union and India. There have been issues. I think one of the reasons that we have very high tariff on some of the goods of interest to European Union, which they have flagged. They will want us to reduce imports on wines. There is a Trump factor again, the cars, because Musk has already indicated that he might be wanting to import vehicles from Germany to Indian market, not from China. So I think that again, they'll have to find a way of getting those vehicles at a slightly lower, duty structure. So there are these factors which will have to be gone into. Technology is another area. In fact, a lot of new technology areas have been talked about. It is also said that European Union and India want to take that relationship to a level which India already has with UK and US. So I think there are good tidings. And given the political will, what happens? The negotiations remain stalled because the officials who are charged with the responsibility of negotiating trade deals stick to their optimal positions, maximalist positions. Now, unless there is a political direction, and I think we see clear indication of political directions here, European Union President has expressed a hope that the agreement would be wrapped up by the end of the year. Prime Minister Modi has been, in fact, even more emphatic. He has very clearly stated that he has given directions to the negotiating team to wrap it up before the end of the year. So I'm very hopeful that this will be all done by the end of the year.
Absolutely. So let's wait and see how the negotiations progress next month. But and technology partnership again, the kind of importance that it has assumed in recent years, the kind of partnership we are looking to strengthen with the EU is something that we will discuss in the course of the program. But from trade, let's first now talk about defense and strategic partnership, something that the ambassador spoke about, and a very significant statement again in that area coming in from the President of the European Commission, Dr. Sharma. She says India and Europe should reimagine their partnership in an era of great power competition, global geopolitical headwinds, and she's clearly said that defense and strategic partnership is one area in which both India and the EU can not just explore but expand their cooperation. Help us and our viewers understand the kind of defense partnership that India can build with this European bloc. And how is it going to help us, especially at a time when we are trying to diversify our defense interests?
Tina, interestingly, 3 areas have been identified by the president. One is the trade and technology. The second one is the security and the defense. The third one being connectivity and global partnership. Now, in one way, these are 3 different but yet interconnected areas as I perceive them to be. Because it's trade, technology, even in the field of security and defense and global partnerships and connectivities are all interlinked. But particularly talking about security and defense, which has become very significant now, given the tremors the geopolitical conditions are now facing.
Right.
Why this is happening now? Because for a long period of time, Europe was, was feeling secure because of the transatlantic partnership under the framework of NATO. But suddenly there are jolts now. And given the kind of, in Trump 1, the previous administration of Donald Trump, there were kind of indications that he is not much interested in pursuing with the future of NATO and all that. And he was forcing the European countries to enhance their defense budget. But at the same time, this ended with this, somehow kind of not paying too much of attention to the transatlantic partnership. Trump too, within the first month itself, he has indicated that he is not interested in continuing with the framework. And this has left a kind of, the entire continent or the people under the security umbrella of NATO kind of exposed. Exposure would have been not that dangerous if he had not shown a kind of, lenient attitude towards Russia. So bringing, Russia into the fold, but that could be a strategic move to counterbalance China, otherwise Russia would have leaned towards China. There are various possibility permutations and combinations within that. But the moral lesson that the Europeans have drawn from the situation is that they no longer can rely on transatlantic partnership. Say, for example, the last 3 weeks, so much has changed. And suddenly they know that they have to rebuild their security, they have to remilitarize themselves and enhance their defense and strategic partnership with the people who are like-minded countries all across the world. Now, when I look at the European Union, there are 2 member states of the UN Security Council. These 2 states are the nuclear states. Finland has a very strong military and the kind of infrastructure that is required for enhanced military setups and all that. Individual member states are quite capable. It is just a matter of time that Europe consolidates its military, its power in order to have a strong security and defense mechanism. And in the process, they are also looking forward to enhance their relationship with countries which are like-minded and share the similar set of principles and values, which is India. And that is why trusted partnership, reliable partner, reliability, trust, these words echo time and again. And India at the same time is also, enhancing its defense budget, it's modernizing its defense and looking for weapons and diversifying and, reducing its reliance on one particular exporter of military weapons to India. In that case, European Union and individual member states have a significant role to play. And then within the broad EU framework also and with individual, I time and again bat at the 2 levels, member states at the same time EU. But the difference in the 2 is that bilaterals happen at the national level. At the EU level, things take a time. That is why the FTA also has been dragging for a long period of time because of certain hurdles, but at the same time, ratification by individual member states and acceptance and all those bureaucratic hurdles are there at their end also. So yes, of course, the time is right for both the entities to come up and talk about security and defense also, which is then connected to the third main pillar of connectivity and global partnership because of South China Sea, Indo-Pacific, and all other things which I think hold a lot of significance in the modern times.
Ambassador, your perspective on what is EU's interest in stepping up defense and strategic partnership with India?
Everybody and anybody wants to sell military hardware, defense equipment to India. And India, mind you, has already been buying from Europe. Sweden, France, Italy, all these countries have been supplying. These matters would obviously be, as Cheetal said, dealt with bilaterally. But European Union sometimes bats for issues which they can deal directly, and also bats for issues which are of interest to the constituents. So I think it probably fits into that. Apart from the desire of European Union countries to sell more defense equipment to India, there is obviously an element of higher level of cooperation and intelligence sharing, counter terrorism, training, military training, peacekeeping operations. India, as you know,